It's the Book Club for Kids.
It's the Book Club for Kids. It's the Book Club for Kids podcast.
Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. It's that scary time of year, and we talk to a group of readers who love nothing more than to be scared. Kind of. The book is The Light Jar.
Come on then, let's go and check out the ice house. My face dropped. It was going to be very, very dark in there. I couldn't go. You go ahead, Kitty. I wouldn't want to, take over or anything. What? Of course you've got to come. You're the super riddle-busting champion of the world.
And that's our celebrity reader, NPR newscaster Dale Willman. The Light Jar is a survival story involving imaginary friends. Our readers from Garvanza Elementary School in Los Angeles admit that they, too, have had imaginary friends earlier in their lives.
Like sometimes when I was very little, I would use finger counting, and I would think my fingers were people, and then I would count them off.
Writer Lisa Thompson tells us what inspired the book.
The Light Jar, funnily enough, is inspired by Toy Story.
This is the Book Club for Kids, the show where kids talk about books. We'll tell you how you can be on the show a little later on, but first, let's meet our readers.
Hello, my name is Victoria. Hello, my name is Oscar.
Hello, my name is Amy, and we're all in 5th grade in Garvanza Elementary School, Highland Park, California.
So The Light Jar is about a kid and his mom who escape his abusive stepdad, but his mom goes to get pizza one day and snacks and food, but she ends up disappearing. And then he has his imaginary friend Sam, and there's this other girl named Kitty that he finds, and they go on an adventure to find clues about her dad's sister to solve a riddle that they never did.
All right, well, that is a comprehensive what is it about. Maybe you can give us some more details. Where exactly are we?
It's in a cabin in a forest near a huge private mansion.
This book takes place in England. How can you tell it takes place in England?
Because in the text, I remembered that instead of saying mom, he says mum.
Do you call your mom Mum?
Sometimes. Sometimes also.
Sometimes.
There's a puzzle at the center of this, as you mentioned, Oscar. What are the rules? How do we know, what's at stake? Why are we even doing a puzzle?
The puzzle is to make sure that they find something that their grandfather had hid many years ago before he passed away.
And how does it work? How does the puzzle finding work?
The puzzle finding works because there's pieces of paper, and since Katie already had one, it gives her a clue where to look. And it tells her to look somewhere beneath the trees, and she finds it. It's like a scavenger hunt, but with riddles.
And they put the riddle notes in the book. Could you figure it out before the characters in the book did?
I was able to figure out the first one, the second one, the third one, and the last. So all of them.
Well, I only figured out the first one. How about you?
I only figured out the first one and the second one, but not the last one.
I was able to figure out the first and the second one based on the clues that they were giving us in the book.
Yeah, and can you anybody remember one of the notes just for an example of the kinds of things they were asking?
It was talking about how they had to look in the trees with a lot of roots coming out. Well, that was the first one.
I remember the second one where it showed an image of a house and ice.
It was actually the cabin, and it was hinting that there was something in the cabin, but there wasn't. I'm surprised. How did he figure that out? That's my question. It's so hard.
Yeah, how did you figure that out, Oscar?
Because, I showed a picture of the cabin in a house, but the thing was, since they couldn't find anything in the house, I thought it was outside, near the house, since it was in the garden of the cabin.
Who's good at solving puzzles anyway? Are any of you guys puzzle? Okay, Oscar raises his hand, and we get a maybe from over here. Well, let's hear a bit from the book where Nate's new friend Kitty is curious about a rather unusual toy. Our celebrity reader is NPR newscaster Dale Willman.
So what's this thing? She said, picking up the Ask Me a Question magic ball. It's just some silly game. You think of a word, and it reckons it can read your mind. Kitty fiddled with the switch, and the ball burst into life, flashing and playing a little tinkly tune. She held it up to her lips. "Where is Charlotte's treasure?" she said into the little speaker. I snorted. "No, it doesn't work like that. You think of something in your head and then answer its questions. It's stupid, really." Kitty stared at the little device in her hand, closed her eyes, and scrunched up her face. She was obviously taking it very seriously. Then she pressed start and began to answer the questions. When she got to the end, the ball went into overdrive mode as it guessed the correct answer. She looked at me, wide-eyed. "That is amazing," she said, staring at the ball for a bit before putting it down on the table. "Right. Come on, then. Let's go and check out the ice house." My face dropped. It was going to be very, very dark in there. I couldn't go. "You go ahead, Kitty. I wouldn't want to, take over or anything." She stopped by the back door. "What? Of course you've got to come. You're the super riddle-busting champion of the world." Her eyes were pleading with me, and I couldn't find the words to say no. "Okay. Well, perhaps I'll just walk there with you. Hang on a minute." I went to the front door and got my coat and put on my sneakers. Kitty was waiting for me in the kitchen, and I quickly grabbed the flashlight from the counter. I then realized the Ask Me a Question magic ball was still flashing and beeping loudly on the table. I glanced at the little screen as I went to turn it off. It was scrolling past really quickly. I looked at Kitty, but she had her back to me. I read the little words. "I've guessed it. You are the loser. Your secret word was, wait for it, boyfriend." Oh boy, I thought.
There's a character in this book actually a couple of characters in this book that don't really exist. Talk to me about imaginary friends. Do you guys...
I don't have any imaginary friends, but in my mind to help me, sometimes when I was very little, I would use finger counting, and I would think my fingers were people, and then I would count them off.
I had imaginary friends during, when I was little at the age of 6 to help me during math when I couldn't figure out the answer. I don't know. It was just I was creating fake solutions to figure out this problem, and eventually I got a solution that actually worked.
Well, that's so interesting. When I think of imaginary friends, I think of it because I didn't have any, but I always think that they would be when I was lonesome, that I would have an imaginary friend. But you guys used them to help you solve stuff in school. That's so interesting. Did you have an imaginary friend?
Yeah, his name was Mr. Longhands. He would help me. He would help me with reading, so his hands would help me go through the book.
Our hero is reading a book that he takes with him that seems to give him all the answers to all kinds of things that they need to take care of in this adventure. Tell me a little bit about this book he's reading.
So the book is actually called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and it's about all these creatures, and in that book it does give us clues about the third riddle, I think. It teaches them what to do technically. It guides them.
So this is a survival story because you've got this kid who's, about 8 years old, who is living in the woods. His mother's not there. There's snow outside. Could you survive?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident because I do know how to plant. My cousins have taught me. I know how to sew a little bit, and I know how to cook my own food.
How about you? Will you survive?
I probably... most likely 89% probably because, I only know how to cook and do watch survival documentaries. Most likely 89%, yeah.
I would definitely survive. I've read many books on how to survive in the wilderness alone. I know how to set a bonfire, a pyramid fire. I know how to, and based on our resources that I'll be able to see around me, I'll use most of them, especially since I carry books. I'm always reading books on how to survive in the wilderness in case, we ever go camping and one of us gets separated and we get lost. I know what plants are poisonous, and that's common around our area in California. I think I have a high chance of surviving.
I also think I have actually maybe there's like a 98% chance I'll survive because I like to play survival games, like survival games in the ocean, survival games on land, or survival games in the sky, and especially Minecraft.
Now, Oscar, you're the one that recommended this book. You're the one that picked it up out of the library and you recommended it. Tell me why.
I recommended it because I thought it was a good book. Like, it teaches you a lesson, and it teaches you that just because you're at the lowest point of your life doesn't mean great things can happen. You just have to see it.
Do you guys have some questions for our writer, Lisa Thompson?
What inspired you to make this book?
Well, the light jar, funnily enough, is inspired by Toy Story. So in Toy Story, I'm sure everyone kind of knows the rough idea. It's about some toys, Woody and Buzz, and what happens when Andy, their owner, grows up. The whole storyline, I think, is wonderful for Toy Story. So what happens when your grown-up grows up? And then I just kind of put a twist on that and thinking, how about there's a child and their imaginary friend comes back. But this imaginary friend has been following them around and kind of waving their arms and I'm still here, but they can't be seen. So that was kind of the initial idea for the story. And so most of my books, the main character is around 12 years old. So I thought, well, why would a 12-year-old suddenly see their imaginary friend that they haven't seen since they were really little? So I then thought I need to put them in a horrible situation or something stressful or something worrying that's going to bring this imaginary friend back. And I thought what's kind of quite scary and lonely, it will be a little cottage in the middle of nowhere. So that was kind of, having the setting really helped to then grow the story onwards from there, really.
How long did it take for this book to be reviewed and then published to the public?
So from the idea to the book ending up on the bookshop shelves, it's normally about a year. So I have, it's a bit like having homework to hand in. I have a deadline that I need to get my book delivered to my editor, the first draft, because there's many, many drafts. And normally I spend lots of time thinking about the idea, planning the story, although I don't really like planning. And then probably over 3 months or so, I write the first draft. Now with the light jar, I remember getting halfway through the book and not knowing what was going to happen next. But I knew how it was going to end and I didn't have time to waste sitting thinking about what's going to happen. So I jumped to the ending, finished the book and then went back to the beginning and went through it. And by that point, I kind of filled out the middle bit. So about 3 months for the first draft and then months and months of editing. So on the whole, about a year.
Did anyone help you write this book?
Oh, not really. I guess my editor. So I have an editor who keeps an eye on me and she makes sure that I'm writing a book that they want to publish, really. And that was quite a new thing when I wrote The Light Jar. I hadn't had that experience before. So she kind of keeps an eye on me and then through the editing stage, she gives me notes of what she thinks works well and what isn't working well. So she kind of helps in that respect, but I go away and then do all the work and the editing myself using her notes as a guideline, I guess. So it's very different to writing your own story when there's nobody around, but also you've still got to put the hard work in. I did remember writing my first book thinking, I've written that, okay, that's done, I won't need to look at it again. And then realised that so much of being a writer is editing and reworking and changing things. So that was a bit of a learning curve, really.
Do you like this book too?
This actually is my favourite book that I've ever written, I think. The reason I love it is because there's a twist at the end and there's kind of multiple mysteries, really. What's happened to Nate? Why is he running away? What's happened to his mum? And then the treasure hunt with Kitty. It's quite a dark book. It's not a happy, joyful book particularly, but I like books like that. I like books that kind of make me shiver a bit when I read them. So for that reason, it kind of is my favourite. And also, this is probably going to sound quite mean, but it made my daughter cry when she read the book. And she got to the end and she sobbed. And I remember holding her and thinking, it's done what I wanted it to do. It's really moved someone and made them cry, which sounds sad really, but when you're a writer you want to make somebody feel an emotion, and the fact that it had happened made me really happy that it'd done that. So
All right, now we come to the part of the show where I ask the hardest question of all, which is, what is your favorite book and why?
My favorite book is The Stand by Stephen King, and it's about like mysteries and these people surviving on their own.
Wait a minute. That is a scary book. That scene where they all get stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel and everybody's dying of this pandemic that they're having. I had nightmares about that for years. You don't get nightmares from scary books?
No, I actually enjoy scary books. I also enjoy terror movies. I don't get scared easily. In my opinion, I like books like this. I like books, I'd say, about like nonfiction. I like nonfiction books. I like books about mysteries, like viruses, terror, scary, horror.
My favorite book is actually The Light Jar. I already said that it teaches me like a lesson. When I'm at my lowest point of life, I still can, good things can still happen. It doesn't mean everything's bad. But I'm also like Amy. I don't really get scared that easily. More easily than her, though. I like to watch things too like that. But there's just something that's not really on the topic, but I think I would be able to survive a horror movie. Because, look, let's say we're in a scenario in the creepy house, okay? We move in. Why would I go investigate if there's no one else in the home? I would just leave, and the monster's not going to catch me. I'm so smart.
My favorite book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because it's like a girl that tries to figure out who got murdered. I like it because there's a lot of plot twists in it, and it's really surprising. It's like so surprising.
What about you, Lisa Thompson? What's your favorite book?
It's really hard, but I think it's the book that changed my life, which I read when I was about, I would say, 7 or 8 years old. Very famous book. Everyone will know it, I'm sure. Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. And the reason is very similar to what I said about my daughter, actually, is that it made me cry and it made me sob. And I remember thinking when I finished the story, I can't believe this is just a book and it's had the power to make me cry, to make me physically feel emotionally exhausted from reading the book. And it's a wonderful book. It's not all sad. There's some lovely, lovely parts in the story. That book made me realise how powerful books could be, which was a real gift, because then I wanted to read books that made me laugh and books that took me on adventures and books that made me scared. And so it opened my eyes really to the world of books and made me want to be a writer and make other people feel something when they're reading as well.
Got a favorite book, Dale Willman?
It's kind of funny when I try and think about my favorite book of all time. That's because I don't think I have one. I travel a lot, and people ask what my favorite place is to visit, and my answer usually is the last place I've been to. I love every place I visit, and I love most of the books I read. I enjoy reading about the Adirondacks, which is a huge park near where I live, and I like to read about the park's history. And I like science books. Growing up, I loved the Hardy Boys and Tom Swift books. Now we recognize that they were sexist and sometimes more than just a bit racist. But as a kid, they took me to places I had never seen before, places I never knew existed. And that's what I love most about reading. I want to learn, and reading does that for me. But most of all, books let me visit places, sometimes real and sometimes imagined, all without leaving my comfy chair and pillow in my corner book nook. Books fire up my imagination, and I can't think of a better way to travel than by reading.
We'll have a list of everybody's favorite books at our website, bookclubforkids.org, on our Books We Love page. And if you have a favorite book, you can be on the Book Club for Kids podcast, too. Just record yourself on your smartphone telling us your first name, the city where you live, and the name of your favorite book. Oh, and also why you love it, and then email the voicemail here at kitty@bookclubforkids.org. We would love to hear from you. And send a picture of you and your favorite book, and do not forget to get permission from your parents. Thanks this week to producer Chad Francis. Brandon Baker composed our theme with additional music from Andrew Walton. Emma Steinkelner designed our logo. Thanks to our writer, Lisa Thompson, and our celebrity reader, NPR newscaster Dale Willman. And thanks to our readers this week, Victoria, Oscar, and Amy, and their librarian, Jocelyn Nicdeo at Garvanza Elementary School in Los Angeles. We have a free newsletter for teachers, parents, and librarians full of tips about how to turn kids into lifelong readers. You can sign up at the website, bookclubforkids.org. Oh, and do tell a teacher or librarian about the Book Club for Kids. It's a terrific alternative to screen time and an opportunity for young students to be podcast stars. And if you like the podcast, leave us a review wherever you listen. It really helps others find the show. And by the way, if you are in the mood for a road trip, the makers of Book Club for Kids have created a new podcast, Honeymoon Road, Pete and me and our Model T. Here's a preview. In 1925, Pete and Gert got married. Pete was a boiler mechanic, Gert was a secretary, and she had just learned how to drive. So for their honeymoon, they said goodbye to their jobs and their families in Chicago and packed up their Model T Ford, bound for that land of promise, California. It was the adventure of a lifetime. Gert was quite the letter writer.
Emporia, Kansas, September 20th, 1925. Dear Gang, your married sister is sure getting to be a first-class...
She kept a running commentary about life on the road, sleeping in the car, meeting strangers across the way.
It sure is great sport to talk to the different ones at the camps, all from different places and bound for some other place.
They marveled at the wonders of America, the Mississippi River, the Kansas State Fair, and
the Grand Canyon. It certainly is wonderful beyond anyone's imagination. The most wonderful thing I've ever seen or expect to see, unless it's heaven, and I might not get to see that.
It wasn't all rainbows and romance. The honeymoon hit quite a few ruts in the road.
Pete swore 3 times at me today, and I don't think he loves me anymore. 1 week tomorrow that we're married, and I suppose by next week I'll be black and blue with bruises.
And those 1925 roads were no superhighway.
I might as well do the driving because I watch the road just as much as Pete. He tells me not to, but if we're going in a ditch, I want to know how and where to land.
But Pete and Gert never lost their love for each other or for their Model T.
Getting so we feel at home wherever the Ford stops. Pete says he almost wishes he could ride on and on.
Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. Join me and my cousin Marie Felde as we retrace our grandparents' honeymoon trip across the country, this time in a hybrid SUV. We'll be using Gert's letters as our roadmap, finding out what's left of that 1925 America. And we'll find out more about the car that made it all possible, Henry Ford's landmark Model T. Join us, won't you, for the road trip of a lifetime, Honeymoon Road, Pete and me and our Model T.